So next, kind of speaking still to female cancers, we have Aspira Women's Health, AWH. Aspira Women's Health, together with its subsidiaries, engages in developing and commercializing diagnostic tests for gynecologic disease in the United States. Aspira Women's Health is dedicated to the discovery, development, and utilization of novel high-value diagnostic and bioanalytical solutions that help physicians diagnose, treat, and improve gynecologic health outcomes for women. Today we have speaking Torsten Hombeck. Torsten Hombeck, PhD. Dr. Hombeck joined Aspira in June 2023 as Senior Vice President and CFO, and has over 2 decades of experience in the biotech industry, finance, capital markets, and M&A transactions, as well as clinical and commercial product development and regulatory filings. Prior to joining Aspira, he served as CFO of Akari Therapeutics, where he raised over $44 million during his 3-year tenure. His previous positions include Chief Commercial and Strategy Officer and Managing Director at Promathera Biosciences and Co-Chief Executive Officer and Chief Business Officer at Cytonet, where he played an integral role in its acquisition by Promathera, period. Dr. Hombeck also served as Chief Financial Officer at both Agenix and GPC Biotech. He holds a master's in business administration and a PhD in finance from the European Business School, University of Business and Law at Ostrich-Winkel, Germany. And for those of you that don't know, gynecologic tumors, my wife treats predominantly female cancers. They're challenging because anything outside of the uterus is kind of just hanging in the belly, in the peritoneum, and then that's where your bowels can be. And when you have Mets, you get this very kind of ugly frozen bowel, and it's a very debilitating graphic process that's hard on her emotionally to treat as an oncologist. And the number of times I've had to tell a mother of a 30-year-old, doc, when we went to the ER 6 different times for the abdominal pain, and they kept saying it was gas, or we went to the PCP, if they would have done it the first, second, or third time a year ago, would my daughter be alive? It's a very difficult question for me, because I'm like, truthfully, the chances are yes, but honestly, economically, it doesn't make sense to scan every 33-year-old because it's usually gas, right? I can't say that, but it's still really unfortunate as a physician, that person in front of me. So I'm very curious to hear this presentation. So Dr. Hombeck, thank you, and here we go.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Thanks to Chad for inviting us to present today the Aspira Women's Health story. Thank you, Eric, for coordinating us coming here. Eric and I just talked the last time. I saw so many people, curious people, faces that are interested in learning more about companies doing what we're doing here. In a room with a combination of clinicians, physicians, investors, and other interested parties. The last time I saw so many is probably pre-COVID. So the fact that all came today to Louisiana is amazing, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. My name is Torsten Hombeck. I joined the company earlier last year. I'm with the company for one single purpose, to deliver the mission of developing more diagnostic tools in the space of ovarian cancer and other gynecological health indications. Quick snapshot of who we are. We are a revenue-generating commercial stage biotech company, purely focused on women's health and purely focused on gynecological diseases. We have a series of diagnostic tools, non-invasive diagnostic tools, blood tests that are AI-powered and that can risk assess the ovarian cancer. We have currently a pipeline that not only further develops ovarian cancer diagnostic tools, but also other indications in the gynecological health space, including endometriosis. I'm going to touch base on that later in the presentation. But our pipeline suggests that we have a peak sales opportunity in the near term of over $1 billion. We have an established market access and reimbursement system in place with reimbursement with Medicare and Medicaid for both of our commercial products in the OvaSuite portfolio. OvaSuite is the name of our products that we commercialized in the ovarian cancer diagnostic tools. And we have an experienced management in place that we believe can deliver, that has the relevant experience in not only small cap, mid cap companies, but also in the women's health space as well as in the diagnostic space. This is my favorite slide of the entire presentation, which is not only the status quo of where we are, but also the potential going forward. And the upper part of this slide, of the pipeline slide, you see our products in the ovarian space, ovarian cancer diagnostic space, with OvaSuite being our brand name for two products, namely OvaOne Plus, which is the top, and OvaWatch, which is our latest tool that we launched back in 2022, late in 2022. Both with addressable total markets in the United States alone of up to 1.5 million patients. We continue to develop OvaWatch further from a one-time test to a serial monitoring test. And this is about to launch this year. And we are going to expand our portfolio in the ovarian space by including microRNAs into the test itself. Today, it's only protein-based as a biomarker test. And we call that over-MDX, and that is currently in development. On the bottom of the page is endometriosis, our future potential for additional tests. These tests have way larger total addressable markets. And again, these numbers are for US only. The current test that we have finished designing by the end of last year, which has not yet been launched, it's called EndoCheck, with a total addressable market of up to 2.5 million lives. And further down below is the test that we call EndoMDX, which includes not only the protein and biomarker analysis of the blood, but also microRNAs. And here we enlarge the label from a more narrow test that is covered by EndoCheck to an EndoMDX. And the EndoMDX covers about 6.5 million addressable market. 6.5 million lives in the United States alone is an addressable market. The current dilemma, and we just heard about it as well, the current dilemma in ovarian is that there are a lot of women with anaxomasis that are found on an ultrasound or an imaging, but the traditional methods of diagnosing and detecting cancer are very ineffective. Tissue samples may result in cancer spreads. There's a lack of non-invasive diagnostic tools. The current tools that are available are either ultrasound and they are rarely definitive. And we have in the market, which is currently kind of a standard of care, which is contradictory to what it actually does, an off-label use of CA125. CA125 was developed in the 70s for the as a diagnostic tool for colon cancer and has made its way into ovarian cancer as well. But it is not an efficient tool, and we'll see later on that it misses a lot of cases, specifically early stage cases, cases in women, in African American women, as well as in other areas. So what the dilemma leads to is that when women are diagnosed with ovarian cancer, it's often too late. 65% of cancer that is in the ovarian space that is diagnosed is stage 3 and beyond. And at that stage, the mortality rate is unfortunately between 60 and 70%. Approximately 200,000 ovarian ovaries are removed per year in the United States. And it turns out that of the 200,000 ovaries that are removed, 180,000 could have been saved, and only 20,000 were actual cancer. And what that means is that you remove 180,000 ovaries and send women by removing their ovaries into early menopause, which is a terrible consequence. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows what that means. Our portfolio in the ovarian space is, we call them OvaSuite. OvaSuite is comprised of two products that are currently on the market. On the left-hand side is our newer product, OvaWatch. OvaWatch is a risk assessment, initial risk assessment, and it provides the physician and the patient with a score of what the level of risk is that the patient, in fact, has cancer or not. And it can be used as a one-time test. And we're currently in the process of developing it further into a serial monitoring test so that If the risk is low and the patient, together with the physician, decide to wait and not to remove the ovaries immediately, that test can be used as a going forward tool to monitor how the risk is developing. And if the risk increases and at some point the physician feels more comfortable removing the ovaries, then that's what the decision will be. But if the risk continues to be low, the suggestion is that there is no immediate necessity to remove the ovaries. On the right-hand side, we have our legacy test. We call it Over-1 Plus. Over-1 Plus consists of two products, Over-1 and Overa. This combination, Over-1 Plus, is a test for ovarian cancer for women that are scheduled for surgery. So there was an ultrasound, there was another diagnostic tool, and the physician, the OBGYN, determines that the woman should go to surgery. But the next question will be, who does the surgery? And there are typically two options. One is the OBGYN or the gynecologist. The difference between those two is that one is better served for the earlier stage or for the lower risk ovarian cancer, and the oncologist is really necessary when it comes to later stage and when it comes to high risk, because you have not only the task of removing the ovaries, but also to deal with all other sorts of matters that may occur during the surgery, including significant bleeding and other matters. So this test is scheduled or is branded, and the label is for women that are scheduled for surgery, and it's a surgical triage tool for the physician to determine the next steps. I briefly touched base on CA125. CA125 is a traditional biomarker with one protein, based on one protein, that has been developed in the space of ovarian cancer, that is currently used also for the, it has originally been developed for colon cancer and is now also being used for ovarian cancer. And I mentioned it before, CA125 has a poor outcome for low-risk patients, for African-American women. And in fact, Over-1 Plus detects 59% of ovarian cancer that CA125 misses. And that is a huge medical need for the space that we can fill with our product. Overwatch has been launched as a one-time test, and we are in the process of launching and expanding the label to a serial monitoring, where the physician can use the test as a going forward method to monitor the risk of ovarian cancer in a specific patient. We have publications that are currently submitted for peer review, and once we have the appropriate publication, we can roll out the test, which has been launched back in 2022 as a lab-developed test. During 2023, we have undergone a significant, we call it commercial refresh. We've looked into the entire territory of the United States where we had sales reps, and eliminated some of the territories where we knew we would likely never become profitable with a sales rep on the ground, and replaced some of the on-the-field sales reps with in-house sales opportunities, and have cut some of our direct sales efforts, and focused continuously on those areas in the United States where more covered lives are, more patients are, where more physicians are, and where more hospitals are that can do the diagnosis and the treatment of ovarian cancer. With that, we have increased sales rep efficiency by 74%. This is the number of sales of units sold per sales rep. And we have decreased at the same time by 50% the dollar amount that we've spent on marketing and sales. The landscape of market access and reimbursement looks as such. And I start with the upper right-hand side. We're covered by Medicare, both for Over-1 Plus as well as for Overwatch, with a rate of $897. This has been going on for a while, including for Overwatch, which started this year, where we did the crosswalk based on a bill in Washington from Over-1 Plus to also Overwatch. We have Medicaid and Medicare Advantage coverage in place, and we have on the left-hand side commercial payers. This left-hand side changes almost on a weekly or monthly basis as we expand our coverage and becoming more and more prominent on the fee schedules with other commercial payers. And you can see, and you should expect from us, some updates specifically on the left-hand side where we increase our coverage from a commercial payer's perspective. I mentioned before, the next step in the clinical development is the inclusion of microRNA into our test and our tool for detection of ovarian cancer. We call this micro over MDX. And over MDX includes and adds microRNA on top of the 5 proteins that we're analyzing so far in our assays. This technology comes from Dana-Farber Cancer Center, from the laboratory of Dr. Kevin Elias, and we have licensed their technology to develop and finalize the design of over MDX, and this should be we should be able to roll this out after the platform migration has been done from an academic lab to a commercial environment, and once the necessary either publications for an LDT or the filings with FDA are in place in order to launch the test. Let's talk about endometriosis as the next part. Endometriosis, just for those in the room that are not too familiar with this indication, it's a deliberating condition in which tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus. About 6.5 million women per year in the United States alone are suffering from this condition, and the symptoms often overlap with other similar conditions, namely painful periods, pain with sex, excessive bleeding, infertility, etc. And the lack of non-invasive diagnostic tools makes it difficult to properly diagnose and detect endometriosis, with the very, very sad consequence that it takes sometimes anywhere between 4 and 11 years for the condition to be properly diagnosed. And until then, women undergo the very severe symptoms of endometriosis. I love this slide. This slide shows, and it's very small, and I don't want to point to any detail, but this slide shows the development of new pharmaceutical agents in the space of endometriosis between now and 2032. And it shows how much this market will grow, not only with existing products, which stay pretty much stable, including with new products that are currently under development. And what that means for us is that all sponsors of these clinical trials to enroll patients need to find the right patient population. They need diagnostic tools to identify those patients to be able to fully enroll those trials. So we will be needed as a company with diagnostic tools in endometriosis way before their drugs are on the market and can treat patients with this condition. The total cost for the U.S. economy of endometriosis is somewhere between $80 billion and $120 billion per year. And the patient's cost, direct and indirect patient's cost on an annual basis is about anywhere between $12,000 and $18,000. So we're talking about really big numbers based on the large number of patients that undergo this condition. Last year, by the end of last year in December, we have announced that we have finished the design of the first ever non-invasive diagnostic tool for the detection of endometriosis. It is not the entire indication of endometriosis, but for the time being, ovarian endometriosis or endometrioma. It's about 44% of the entire, up to 44% of the entire endometriosis market. And it is one of the most common forms of endometriosis. We've finished the design. We're currently in the process of internally and externally verifying the data. And once that process is completed, we will undergo the specific publication of data, either to target this test as a lab-developed test or to undergo a proper 510K filing with the FDA. the next generation of endometriosis tests, which at least to me, as a representative of the company and as a advocate for patients and for physicians, is the inclusion of microRNA into the endo test. That would broaden the indication from currently about 44% of the entire market to a much bigger number. So we're not only focused on endometrioma or ovarian endometriosis, but the entire space of endometriosis. We are in the process of finalizing the design of this test. This test has been developed under a sponsored research agreement, again, with the same laboratory of Dana-Farber Cancer Center, namely Dr. Kevin Elias. This test and the technology we own, it has been developed under sponsored research agreement. And once the design is finished, we verify and validate data and then do the next steps in order to launch that test as well. And my hope is that we are able to launch that test as early as next year. 2 more slides. One is the financial performance slide. On the right-hand side, you see our current cash position. We have, and these are numbers as of September 30, we had $5.4 million in cash in the bank. We burn about somewhere between $3.3 and $3.5 million per quarter. We have subsequently to September 30, namely in January of 2024, raised another $5.5 million as a registered direct with Alliance Global Partners in January. A beautiful deal done overnight with the top range of existing and new shareholders supportive of our mission. We continue to work, and this is the left-hand side, to increase product volume quarter over quarter, gross margin quarter over quarter. Our gross margin grew 13% from last year, 2022 from 2022 to 2023. 13% marketing sales expenses are down, while product revenue as well as product growth are up. So the next milestones for us as a company in 2024 is a series of publications. These will help us to promote the use of our tests in the day-to-day office of physicians to diagnose properly women with ovarian cancer, and going forward, hopefully also with endometriosis. Our key drivers for 2024 are adoption and growth that relates to sales and volume and revenue, the continuation of our expansion of our market access and coverage opportunities and infrastructure, including getting additional commercial payers under contract and on their fee schedule, the acceleration of our innovation and R&D pipeline, as well as commercial and collaborative opportunities both inside the United States as well as outside. We have announced in end of January or beginning of February, only a few weeks ago, a very exciting collaboration agreement with a company in the Philippines who we have collaborated with previously in the R&D space and in clinical trials. And they have received an exclusive license from us to sell our products in the Philippines as our agent, as our agent over there. And they're super excited. They're going through a regulatory process now with their Philippine FDA. And once that is done, they will launch our test also in the Philippines. With that, I would like to thank you so much for attending today's presentation. I'm very happy to take any questions you may have, although I know we are running a little bit late, and maybe we have 1 or 2 questions, and then I'll be around the entire day. I have a table outside. If you would like to meet with me, please do so. I look forward to any type of questions on communication with you. Thank you. Please.
I think Natera and some other companies may have some molecular tests. Can you just update your status on those companies' competitive dynamics, specifically for ovarian?
I cannot speak for any other companies in our space. I can tell you that we have a very dedicated team with very accurate tests. Our NPV for a negative predicted value, for instance, for Overwatch, which we have been launching as a ruled-out test, has an NPV of over 99.4%. I think that speaks to itself how well that test can be used as a rule-out test. We have other percentages in terms of sensitivity and specificity for over 1+ that speak in the same level of accuracy. And I'm sure that we will continue to be a significant player, if not the player, in that space. Thank you.